Fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. So I really appreciate Sarah and Rose the time on this process. What a fabulous set of sessions, and I'm really honored to be here, actually. So I am the VP Strategic Transformation of O-Trade, working with the team around growing and around adding finance capabilities. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about what does measuring benefits of social engagement mean. It's really business cases, it's really after the fact measurement, and it boils down to what is a common language all about. Because you've got sustainability people, you've got mining leadership, business leadership at a corporate level, and finance people that all need to come together around common assumptions, common language, to be able to figure out what's the single version of the truth. And that's what measuring is all about. It's a single version of the truth. If you can go to the next slide, please. So at a real basic level, the starting point is social engagements and investment. It's about a mining operation working with the community, building trust, social license being obtained through the trust, and turning potential conflict into collaboration as they do that. So it's an investment. If you hit enter, please. So O-Trade's been doing this for close to 20 years at this stage, and we've got experience in lots of engagements working with lots of mining companies and their neighboring communities on solution design look like? What's a win-win look like when conflict becomes collaboration? And when we think about measuring that, we're talking the impact of that. It's really what does 2 + 2 = 5 look like? So if you hit enter, please. So we manage what we measure. Hit enter, please. And managing what we measure means a few different things. Like, why do we care? Well, it impacts the corporate bottom line. A mining company's gonna make more money when social engagement's right, and measuring helps bring it all together for managing purposes. So there's more money made a couple of different ways. So our earnings grow, productivity grows. And it's really all about putting heads together between the company and the community to figure out the best solutions around productivity. And more productivity means more money. It means less risk too, because all of a sudden everyone's rowing in the same direction, oars in the water, same way. Less conflict, less PR risk, less legal risk, so on. So it's really everyone all together. And the business case, it's what brings it all together. It's the notion of what are we going to do? What's purpose? What's strategy? What are the detailed tactics? How do we adjust when we need to based on the measurement, based on the progress, and making sure everyone understands that the same way. Because it's one thing for a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet, who cares? It's a whole other thing for a social engagement team, for mine leadership, for the overall company to have the same picture on what this is all about, what are the steps, and how does it all come together. If you flip, please. And again. So there's also a variety of stakeholders who care about this work, and all for good reasons. So investors, well, what did we just talk about? Less risk, more money. Investors like less risk. Investors like more money. So investors are demanding, expecting and demanding, and starting to validate what does social engagement look like? Is the right work happening in the right way at the right time? And investors are funding companies more, mining companies more, that do that work, and they worry about companies more that don't do that work. So the cost of capital is different, the access to capital is different. Downstream customers care. It's one thing to get a mineral out of the ground, it's another thing to sell it. And we're selling it maybe to a large OEM of one kind or another that makes some product. And those companies get it. They get it that the risks upstream, starting at a mining level, become their risks. If there's any instability, if there's any conflict, if there are human rights issues, and so on. The reputation of the mining company as their supplier becomes part of their reputation. And next page, I'm going to talk about that a bit more. And customers care. And it's not just millennials, but it is millennials for sure and beyond. Because ethically, it's about the combination of doing the right thing and doing the smart thing at the same time. So ethically driven, the idea of, number one, we don't want the earth to be burning. We don't want people to be treated inappropriately. So the notion is, If a company's doing right by those things, then their product's more valuable. There's more value to the end customer who cares. And the very last thing, and it's cut off on my page, but hopefully everyone can see it other than me, is employees care. If a company has a purpose, let's say a mining company, and part of that purpose includes engaging with the community and respectfully building trust and building collaboration, that's cool if you're an employee. It's an image to tap into, to be part of. So all of a sudden, sure, you get a job, you're making money. That's a good thing. But you're also tapping into that ethical image, which makes you feel good about what you're doing, excites you, and makes you want to give all. So there's a whole variety of stakeholders for different reasons who care. So if we flip again, please. So this is one example, and it's Phillips, really, and they have a conflict minerals report. And the point is, they get it. They've got a complicated supply chain ahead of them, and they understand that they either know or ought to know what's happening there. And they report on it from a social engagement and ethics and environmental point of view. It's part of their report. So what does it mean? Well, they have standards. They expect and demand those standards. And it also means that they audit against those standards, starting at a mining company level all the way through till the product hits their operation. So it ends up being a single version of the truth in terms of who's doing the right thing, where are they doing it, how are they doing it. If you can flip again, please. And again. So a lot of words here. I'm not going to read every one, but there's a few points worth making. So this is normal finance work. It's what finance people do when it comes to building business cases. And a company point of view and a business case is different than a community point of view. One is return on investment, the other is social return. From a company point of view, it's all about, well, what are the risks and opportunities? So opportunities being collaboration, putting heads together with the community, and who knows more about what's happening on the ground than the folks who live on the ground. So it's applying that knowledge to make productivity as good as possible. Bang, money, business case. And lowering risks as well. What's the probability of conflict when there's good engagement? PR hits, legal hits, land access permit issues, so on. When there's a shutdown because of conflict, wow, the opportunity cost's huge. And you can think about what does that look like from a business case point of view. And when conflict turns into collaboration, that 2 + 2 = 5 happens, that risk goes away, or gets real small anyway, and gets replaced with collaboration where it's productivity all of a sudden happening. So benefits instead of cost, ROI. And from a community point of view, it's social return. And social returns, same work, different view of the world. It's what does it mean to the community? Part of it's concrete economics, part of it's subtler and more quality of life oriented work. So concrete economics are things like direct employment, local procurement, putting a dollar into the local community, which then gets spent, people get benefits from. It's measurable, easy to measure. But the quality of life things, what's the value of education or water access or better infrastructure? Again, thinking through what does that mean? What's the effect generated by that, and how does that monetize in a reasonable way is what the business case is all about. So same work, 2 points of view around benefits, 2 points of view around the bottom line, ROI and SROI. And the investors care about both because they want to see the money, show me the money, but they also want to see the lower risk, and they understand that there's lower risk by doing the right thing with the community. So if you can flip again, please, Rose. So it's natural finance work thinking about these business cases. So from a corporate point of view, it's that single.
I think we've maybe lost Rob briefly. I'm going to hope that there we are. We're back. Sorry, Rob, we lost you for about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Funny how these things work. Yeah, so it's basic finance work when you think about businesses. That's what finance people do. Whether it's a new mining operation, whether it's a new route to market, to engage the community, what's the likely outcome of that? Lower risks, higher productivity. How does that suss out in corporate financials? Time-bound probabilities, meaning how long is it likely to last and how big is it likely to be? And it falls into good old-fashioned accounting principles, financial principles. Materiality, we all hear the word, but it's also things like being realistic. It's conservative, relevant, reliable. It's the stuff finance people think about every day. It's making sure everyone's aligned on assumption. It's the idea of, it's one thing for an accountant to build a spreadsheet with an ROI. It's another thing for the sustainability team or the broader business team or the community to buy into, here's what that's going to look like. It's the cross-functional language which drives that. And the last part from a company point of view is terminal value, which is just a fancy word for how long are the benefits going to last. Then from a community point of view, if you hit enter, please, it's the same basic principles if you can hit enter, please. It's the same basic principle. It's causes and effects. We're going to do something from a mining company point of view. Something's going to happen in the community. How does that all map out and dollarize? The couple of extra things that are a little different here. One is the notion of normative valuation. So what that is well, what is the value of a new road or better water access? Hard to put a dollar amount to it. There isn't a naturally accepted standard, maybe. So it's coming up with the most decent assumption that's possible given what you're doing. And there's also resources to look at to find these normative valuations. Things like the Global Value Exchange or the World Bank ESG database. But it's really taking things that are soft benefits to a community and trying to figure out a hard dollar amount based on a reasonable assumption to it. Then from an investor point of view, if you can please hit enter again, thanks. Investors care about the combination of the two. Show me the money plus purpose. So purpose, they can't necessarily know they're hearing the full story when it comes to reporting. So it's going below the surface of company reporting to understand, is the board of director tied into purpose? Are they sponsoring it? Are all the decision-making processes, the business culture, so on, bought into the sustainability thing? And does it suffuse the way they make decisions? Because if the answer is no, then the story isn't real. And investors know that. If the answer is yes, then the story is real. And investors get real interested real quickly because they understand the benefit of it's going to be happening. If you can please keep going. And again. So the reporting we have today, we all know there's a lot of standards. Alphabet soup, SASB, GRI, ABCD, EFG. They're all different. Ratings are subjectives, and convergence is happening, but it's going to take time. Will impact weighted accounts be it? Maybe, possibly. We're not there today anyway. So the interesting question, what are investors doing in the meantime? Because they got to look below the surface. So one's the deep dive that we just chatted about. It's looking at purpose and the application of purpose. Is the company living the dream that it talks about living when you look under the covers? If the answer is yes, great. Audit and assurance is another part of it. Companies are thinking about it more and more. And what does that look like? Things like the World Gold Council with insurance engagements. It's getting someone to stare at the company in detail and see, are all the right standards there? Are they being deployed at the right time, in the right way, to the right effect? And the last part's targeted validations. It's the idea, go in, ask the right questions, and make sure with the quick in and out that the story holds together, that it makes sense, that the company's doing and thinking about the stuff that they say they're doing and thinking about. If you flip, please. And again. So if we think about a validation, O-Trade has an offering, the 360 rapid assessment. Now I know Monica Espina was talking about this a little bit the other day, but the starting point for a rapid assessment, whether or not you're in a corporate head office of a mining company or whether or not you're an investor, how do you know the story's real? How do you know what's really happening? Because it might even be a good faith story where everyone's telling what they think is the full unadulterated truth, but they don't quite understand something. So how can you find out? That's what it comes down to, the 360. And how can you lower your own risk by finding out? Whether you're a corporate head office with a remote mining location halfway around the world somewhere, or if you're an investor thinking of buying into a company or investing in a new startup mining operation. It's the notion of understanding what's real and what's Memorex on the ground so you can make targeted decisions based on that. So the way that looks, if you flip to the next page, please, and it's largely driven by 20 years of in the field knowledge. It's what Monica Espina calls insect bites. It's really going in and spending a few days asking questions. Tell us a story. Tell us a story when it comes to environmental things, social things, governance things. By the way, show us as well. It's one thing to tell us, but show us the analysis you just talked about. And we're going to stare at it. We're going to analyze it. And based on 20 years of experience, come to conclusions, which we'll be able to report on, good, bad, or ugly. And here's the picture in a GRI-oriented way and lined up against SDGs, where here are the risks. Here are the things we need to worry about. Here are some possible conclusions. And it takes only a few days to do this because it's really based on all the knowledge that's out there. So you think about all the topics that go into play. Artisanal mining. Well, it has environmental aspects, obviously, has social aspects, has governance aspects. All of them come together, which is why you've got to hit it from a full end-to-end integrated point of view, going through the color wheel sort of a picture that's there to understand the reality. Same with water access. Water access is a social issue at the end of the day. No water, well, that's a problem. But water is an environmental thing as well. And by the way, how's water access governed? Same with every single topic going through this. So it's a fast and effective way of trying to get below the surface to see what's real, what's Memorex. So if you flip pages again. If you can flip pages again. Uh-oh.
So I think
Rose?
maybe go back
Hello?
one bit. I think we've got a delay between Rob and ourselves. Rob, we're looking at the bottom line page at the moment, if you're still there.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I lost it first. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, no, we can. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, Rob, we can hear
Fantastic.
you. We're looking at the bottom line page.
Fantastic. So I'm going to bring it all together because at the end of the day, a business case, it's about a single version of the truth. Social license, it's a smart investment. It brings returns. It's about turning conflict into collaboration. But what does it mean? What's the strategy? What are the tactics? And how do people understand it the same way, whether it's sustainability, finance, business, operations, or anyone else? That's what the business case is all about. And that's what measuring is all about. And that's what finance does every day of the week, whether it's a new operation, a new route to market, or sustainability. There's no reason it shouldn't be done for this. And it better be done for this because investors care at the end of the day because they get it. There's money to be had, reputation to be gained or lost. Guess what? They don't want to lose it. They want to make it. So that's the bottom line. And that's why verification matters as well. Things like the 360 assessment and things like assurance, because it's getting below the surface and seeing what's real. So if you flip to the very last page, thank you very much. That's my story. If if anyone wants to hear more, you can connect with any of us at O-Trade. There's my email or our website, and we'd love to talk more. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Rob. So from all of us on the other side of our microphones, thank you very, very much. That was absolutely brilliant. Now, in the interest of time, and also given your internet is a little bit patchy, I'm not going to pose any questions directly to you now, but there are questions. So, for example, Catherine is asking, what do you think to a triple bottom line in the chat at the moment? So please do answer that in the chat. But instead, I'm going to go straight to Tom Butler, because